Hi, it's Victoria Napolitano. Welcome to the lounge. I can't believe how many people showed up today. I'm so excited. We're launching our new sit down, join the conversation lounge. We've been working on it a long time. And my first guest is Aaron, and I think I see him coming up now. I'm going to walk over to the bar to get something to drink, and hopefully he sees me. I'm over here. He sees me, and he'll meet me over at the bar.
Can I get you something?
I'll take a lemon. No, I think I'll have water with lemon.
You got it.
Thanks. Today, I have a great guest. I have Aaron, and we are going to talk about dating and today's dating as opposed to 10 years ago. Hey there, Aaron. How are you?
I'm great, Victoria. How are you?
Thank you for coming because I know it's kind of a touchy
Absolutely.
subject,
Sure.
and we're just going to get right into the meat of things. If you're going to
Let's
go on a
do it.
date, what is the first thing you're going to look for?
That's a really good question. I think, when you're younger, you probably have a little bit of different answer, and as you get older and you go through relationships, that answer probably would change for me.
Hmm.
But I think for me, the number one thing I'm looking for is just honesty, someone to be themselves. It's so tough, I think, in today's society where everyone's trying to be something that they're not, or they see things online or social media that they need to be someone else and filters. I think someone's just genuine honesty and not trying to please that other person to be something that they want them to be. And I think you can pick that up pretty quick in the first, maybe like a 15, 20-minute coffee conversation, you know?
True, but
So
it
I,
has
I
to be in person, right? With a
got to be in
cup.
person.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I think that having that initial first meet, that spark, or if there's chemistry and all those things that I think should come natural, which is I think has been lost along the way a little bit, right? I think with everyone on their phones and trying to meet people online, and multiple people are talking versus just taking that time to like sit down and actually talk to them face to face and getting that really initial kind of feeling for that other person too, and seeing how that's reciprocated. But I think just being yourself, be honest, because at some point, you know,
The
that's
truth
going to
will
come
come
out, right?
out.
The
Yeah,
truth will
that's
come
true.
out, and so why waste each other's time? And just I think that's very genuine.
What could someone do? You're on a date, you meet for coffee. What would they do to turn you off right away? What would happen or what would they say?
Wow, that's a that's a good one too. Excuse me. Um, I think, gosh, I think being on your phone. I think someone just if you ever meet somebody, and I'm sure you know this in like business and stuff like that, where someone's on their phone or they don't put it away. I think that shows a lot about somebody. Like they're really engaged with you. They want to be there.
True.
Um,
Hmm.
that's like a big pet peeve, and I'm sure you see that in your industry as well too. But that would be a big turn off because you know you're assuming that either one of the both of you people are excited to see each other and meet each other. You just want to see that engagement. And if they're not making eye contact or they're not really engaged, that's important.
It
So
almost makes you feel like you're bugging them. I feel like
yeah,
getting up and saying, you know what, your phone is more important. Have a nice talk with yourself and just leave because it doesn't make sense. You're wasting both our times, right?
absolutely. You're making that time, right? You're making that commitment. And again, back to honesty, right? I understand people have lives and jobs and stuff, but be honest, hey, I've got 30 minutes and you're all mine for the next 30 minutes, and nothing's going to come in between that. You know what I mean? So I think that just shows that they really want to be there. They really want to get to know you, and that's important. And I get it with a lot of the younger generations. Everyone's got that phone just ready, accessible. I think it's an escape for some people too, right? I think for some people, maybe on a first
Yes.
date,
Hmm.
I, I maybe guys and gals could be like, hey, I'm gonna go meet this guy, and if I text you, call me. I've heard stories like that where it's not going well, call me. But what's 20 minutes of your time, right? What's 20 minutes to meet somebody, and maybe it doesn't work out. That's okay. That's life, right? That's life. You're gonna meet people that are just genuine people and good people, but maybe it's not gonna be a physical relationship. You know what I mean? So,
And
or an
that
intimate,
makes
you know,
sense.
boyfriend girlfriend relationship. Yeah. So give them that time. They took that time to meet you. You should give them that time back.
Well, and piggybacking off that, if
Sure.
you're that scared, just leave. You literally could get up and just walk out, or there's a lot of codes I heard that bartenders understand that if you feel unsafe. But in most cases, you can say, I need to go to the restroom and save yourself. So you're
Right.
not obligated to stay there if you're that scared of someone. And you shouldn't run
Absolutely.
your phone. And what is the person on the other line going to do anyway, truly, if something
Right.
is going
Right.
wrong?
I
Not
mean,
to be mean.
no, but I mean, hopefully, you know, as a guy, should be thinking about those things too, right? For I'm kind of old fashioned, like, hey, you know, the first time you're meeting a gal, you don't want to be in like some private, secluded location, you
True.
know? So I think meeting for coffee somewhere where there's other people around, you want to make that other person feel comfortable, but at the same time, you don't want to pick, you know, some very loud place where you can't hear each other talk. So, but that kind of goes into doing a little bit of an advance, as you would call it, to kind of say, hey, this is a good spot to meet somebody. And I think that kind of shows too, like, hey, how did you pick this place? It starts the conversation up a little bit.
That's
Um,
true. And that you
and,
tried and you put some effort
yeah,
in. I feel like
right.
people don't put effort in. They want things to
No,
just happen, but they're online saying, I can't find a good man or woman. And they sound really negative, but they're probably doing things, again, that could be a turnout that they may not understand. I think being late is the number one offensive thing to do when you first meet someone.
absolutely. I think the guy, and again, I'm old fashioned. I think the guy should always be there first. And you know, I think being there, hey, if we're gonna meet at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna be there at 12:45, or
Mhm.
make sure that you're there early. I think a guy should be doing that. And I think historically, I think girls do come a little late. I think that I'm okay with that a little bit because I think that, you know, it's just kind of an old fashioned thing that I would, you know, having
Mhm.
a girl, I don't want to have somebody wait on me. I want to be a gentleman. I want to be there, you know, pull their chair, you know, hey, can I get you a coffee? I'm here. I'll have it waiting for you when you get here. Those are all things I think, you know, putting that effort, like you said yourself, into a first date, especially if you really want to meet this person and, you know, or maybe you've already met them, right? Maybe you met them at a bar or a grocery store or a restaurant, and now this is the first time you're really getting to engage and talk with them. So you really want to your best to impress them.
I love that. I've also talked with guys. What's your opinion? They said that if someone's disrespectful to a waiter or the wait staff, that that's a turn off as well.
Oh, 100%, 100%. That and when someone's indoors with their sunglasses on just kills me. Um, and I've seen that where like you come in and not only that, you know, if you're trying to, I went on a date one time. The gal had her sunglasses on inside, and I couldn't have an eye contact with her, but I felt so embarrassed to like, do you mind taking your sunglasses off? I didn't know if there was a nice way to say that, but that and like you said, the way they treat staff,
Hmm.
um, whether it's at a coffee place, whether it's at a restaurant, I mean, that's a big sign. That's a big red flag. If they're just like, you know, if they're treating them like they're not being polite, or courtesy, and holding doors. I mean, I don't know that that's a big thing too. I mean, even when I see like man or woman, if I see someone hold a door for somebody, just like, oh, thank you, have a good day, just that simple
Hmm.
gesture, I think
Hmm.
it shows the character of, again, guy or gal, that who they are as a person.
I
Um,
agree with that
it's
100%.
the little things like that, and that doesn't take much. That those are quick little 5 second things that come across, you know, your day that you can show to another person that, hey, they're a good, they got a good heart, good soul, they're just a nice, genuine person.
Well, and lately, there's a lot of people, let's just say under 40. I don't know the age, I'm just guessing. Sometimes they'll
Sure.
make fun of old fashioned or what we did in the past, but at the same time, they're offended because people were disrespectful and rude. I believe if you don't have basic manners, no matter who you are, that's gonna come out as rude. Not holding the door, coming in late, not keeping your word, canceling at the last second when you knew you were gonna be busy. All those kind of things are under manners. Do you agree?
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we touched on it a little bit, but like you said, like canceling last minute, doing some of those things, that really bothers me the most, right? I mean, I get it. People get sick and there's emergencies and what like that, but I think you can kind of tell too, right? If there's some hesitation on their part,
Yes,
or
absolutely.
you're really struggling to get, hey, are we still having coffee tomorrow? Taking them a long time to respond. And then it kind of builds up to like, oh, hey, you know what? I can't make it. Maybe like next time. And then another pet peeve of mine is if someone cancels, I'm always like, hey, if I'm going to cancel something because let's just say it is an emergency or a family emergency, hey, I'm so sorry, but let's reschedule right now. Versus like, yeah, I'll
Right.
get back to you in a couple days or we'll
Hmm.
talk later. I feel like if someone says that to me, and I've had that happen where a guy would say, I'm so sorry, this is what happened. Can we meet tomorrow or on Monday? And
Hmm.
to me, that showed like that's genuine versus like, hey, gosh, Victoria, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to make it, but we'll talk soon. Bye. And you're like,
And they
wow,
had a
okay, that's
better offer, that's why, or they don't want to take their
absolutely,
pajamas off.
yeah. And there's some serial daters out there that maybe just have a bunch of dates lined up and they're just kind of going through it. But I think that comes out real quick. Again, we circle back to honesty, right? And
True.
just being open and clear about it. And you don't want to waste somebody else's time because you got to feel that other person on the other line or however you guys met. Um, that's important to at least one of them,
Hmm.
and you would think hopefully both that they're going to make this effort to take time out of their day to meet with you for 20 minutes, for coffee. And, you should make that commitment.
Do you think the internet has changed the outlook on how people look at a date? Because I feel like, and again, this is my opinion. Whoever's listening, it's my opinion. You might have a
Hmm.
different one. But I feel sometimes when I see these women talking and they'll have these podcasts telling other women how men think, I thought, why don't you just have a man on your show to tell the women how men think instead of you telling women how men think? How would a woman know how a man thinks?
Exactly. Yeah. You should definitely like for us, you and I talking, a male and female having that conversation, right? I don't think I could tell you certain things versus I could tell, you could tell me certain things.
And it
Um,
doesn't make sense. They always want to tell you, oh, well, a man likes this or do this to a man and this is going crazy about going on a date. Don't go out with him if he wants to go to Cheesecake Factory. For some reason, that one's big. I don't understand. What is it about how much a person spends on a first date that has gotten blown out of proportion? I don't understand why you want someone to have to spend that much money on you on a first date if you're just meeting each other. Can you explain what you think's going on there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's, the expectation of, that's how maybe if it's a younger generation thing. I mean, if someone, again, going back to the old fashioned thing, as a guy, if you move maybe past the coffee date
Hmm.
and now you're going to invite them out to dinner, the coffee date went well. Yeah, you're going to pick a place. But, I hope the other person wouldn't judge, where you take them to dinner. If you're expecting them to take you to $500-600 dinner that night and that's, you just peak at that moment. Well, where does it go from there, right? Where does it go when you actually have like a anniversary or something like that down the road? You're just gonna
Oh,
go
true.
all out, you know. But I'm also saying like, okay, you're not gonna just go to a fast food place. But I guess to me, it's if someone's taking the time and even if a woman asks me out, I'm
Hmm.
not gonna be like, oh my God, why did you take me to the Olive Garden versus the Morton, or
Hmm.
Mastro's versus, you know, pizza? I think you can still be successful in any of those places. And then there's judgment, right? Well, why is he taking me to such a cheap place, which is not an expensive place? Am I not worth that? All these things that probably both of them are thinking.
Hmm.
But hey, maybe you don't know who that guy is or the gal is. Maybe they're working. Maybe they've got two jobs. Maybe they can't afford to do that. That shouldn't
Hmm.
take away from the fact that if you like them, then otherwise you're trying to meet somebody for other reasons.
True.
Um, if it's a financial, I want someone to have this, and that. Okay, I understand that, but it's got to start somewhere else. And that's it's unfortunate if that's the level. And maybe let me ask you, Victoria, is that the expectation from females that on a first dinner date are they expecting the Mastro's, Morton's, high-end steak dinner restaurant on the first. Is that the expectation you think today?
Well, there's two different the type school of thought. There's the fitness kind of sporty girl, and then there's the girl that's stylish. And I'm a
Sure.
mixture of both. So what I think happens is girls listen again, they listen to other girls without talking to men, and they believe if he doesn't spend $500-600 on me, that means he doesn't care.
Mm,
Instead of having a conversation, if I'm going on a date with someone or a female's going out with a guy, why don't you talk about that? Hey, what's your favorite restaurants that you go to? Right there would give you an idea of what they like instead of
there you
I
go.
think they guess too much or they assume too much as opposed to just having an open conversation.
And to me that's a perfect segue into a date for a guy if they're listening, right, and you're on a coffee date, you hit it right in the head. So what type of food do you like? And
Hmm.
the girl is going to remember that if she's like, oh, I love Italian or I love sushi. And you don't even have to tell that person, I'm going to go pick a sushi restaurant. You just put that in your head, in your bank there, and remember that so that when you
Hmm.
take her out on that date, hey, I'm going to find a good sushi, nice sushi restaurant and go do that or what it may be. And that would impress her. Those
And
are
it
little
just,
things. It's a
yeah, and
great
it
icebreaker
helps.
for a date. Absolutely.
But
So,
then I also know the girls that don't like fancy restaurants. They like nice things, but they'd rather go on a hike and have a great time that way. So sometimes when you hear things on the internet, oh, unless he's paying this much money, well, you don't need money to hike or you don't need money to go to a sports event. It depends on the female. Second, if you're expecting someone to spend $600 and you've never talked about what restaurants you want to go to or what you like to do, right there to
mm-hmm,
me is a problem. That means you're
huge
not an
problem.
open person.
Correct. I mean, and it doesn't have to be dinner, right? I think, we skipped over that, right? Another
Hmm.
date doesn't have to be dinner. It could be a hike. It could be, hey, let's go to the beach. Or, what is she or he like? Um, and try to incorporate that into maybe that first date of itself.
Because I feel like
Which is
that's more natural too. I feel like the more natural you can be, the faster you can learn about each other. Because sometimes, have you ever heard the girl, oh, I can't wait to take these shoes off, or your dress is so tight you can't eat? That's not fun. That's stress.
no,
And
that's
that's and that's building up to something that's probably going to let you down. And of course, women do spend money. They're going to have their hair done. They're going to have their makeup, their nails, all that type of thing done. And that's why I heard a
right.
girl on the internet go, hey, I spend several $100s before I go out with him. Why do you need that much money to look pretty? Honestly, like your hair should already be somewhat nice. Makeup you could do yourself, and your nails, again, you could go out and get them done. But I feel like they are so focused on what they look like as opposed to what's within. And I'm not judging
Absolutely.
anyone because I'm a stylist, but I feel
No,
like
yeah.
they get caught up in it.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's great too, right? Because maybe the girl's excited, she wants to get dressed up, she wants to go on a date, you know. But if that expectation of her friends maybe, and that may be some of the issues too, is like, well, where did he take you to dinner? Oh, he took you there, or
Hmm.
who knows if they're getting said that kind of stuff. But again, it's coming down to just getting to know that person, you know.
Hmm.
I think taking to a nice dinner, that's great and all, but I think going to a beach or going on a hike or a walk, like, or sitting down at a park or whatever it may be, really just kind of, like you said, being in comfortable clothing, kicking your shoes off, and being yourself. And those dinners are always going to be there, right? The dinner and the
True.
nice getting dressed and dolled up, that'll always be there, especially in the first couple of months of you dating. But I think in the beginning, really that relaxed environment where both of you can really get to know each other, and then all that fun stuff I think comes a little bit after, um,
Like you
because
said,
now
you
you can
can't go
really enjoy
to,
it.
because if you dress up to the hilts on a first date, it can't get higher. And so there's nothing to work for,
You peaked,
or yeah, you already peaked. So he already knows how great you can look. But what about
right?
building it up? And I remember Holly Berry a long time ago saying
Hmm.
how she feels pretty is because she doesn't wear makeup all the time. She goes, I don't dress up all the time. So when I do, it's special.
Absolutely. I mean,
And
that's something to work up for too, right? I mean,
hmm
you don't want to you don't want to just do that. Is that going to be your thought of every time I meet a guy or a gal, and guys get dressed up too, that you're going to go all out, and then it's just, I hate to say it, it's downhill from there, but
hmm
get build that up, build the that kind of excitement of like, gosh, we're gonna go, we've gone on a couple of dates, and now we're gonna go do this little nice dinner, and then I think there's some more meaning to it because now not only can you enjoy the dinner, you've kind
hmm
of already had those conversations, you know a little about each other, you can actually enjoy that, and not sitting there
right,
all cramped up, and the girls are in heels and they're in, you know, dresses and they're not
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, and then they're trying to have this first conversation on like maybe a second date, and the expectations are super high and everybody's stressed, and you know
The
so
dress
I
is too
think
tight to eat.
yeah.
But
Right, it's
and
like, when do you go to the bathroom, when do you not, I feel like so I think all that in the beginning, when you kind of like really get to know people, and like you said, let's see, what do you like to hike, and now you can really build that, hey, let's go
Mhm.
to a nice dinner. I think that kind of just really kind of sets the tone after that, if that relationship's going to continue down. And maybe the wrong word to say is you both earn that. You both kind of
I
like, gosh,
believe
man,
that. And
like,
like the movies in the great 80s and so forth. Remember there's the plain girl, and I'm being extreme now, but this is what the excitement part is. You know the plain girl that's friends with the guy, and then all of a sudden something happens and they have to dress up for an occasion, and then she
yes,
comes walking down the stairs and he can't believe it. That's such a
yes,
great feeling because once
I
you're
love
already,
that.
isn't it fun and it's great and you can show off more.
And I don't know if it was me in high school, and maybe for you too, right?
Hmm
That was the best, junior prom and senior ball, right? You never, I don't know how the girls dress these days, in high school, but I know back then everyone was very casual. People were playing sports, but then guys, you finally ask a girl to go to the dance, right? And
hmm
then all of a sudden your plain Jane gal gets dressed up, and she looks like just a knockout, gorgeous young lady, and
I
that was
love that.
cool. That's so cool, right? And like you get to have that experience because now I don't know, maybe I don't
You
know,
should
maybe
see
girls are
some of the
all
outfits
double
they
the
wear
time.
now. But I believe when you are calm and relaxed, that's more the true you. When you're almost fake. But there are girls that are dressed up all the time. So I give that to them. I'm talking specifically about people that spend a lot of money to go on a date because they're either not used to it or they think that's what the guy wants. But what happens if you go on a date with a guy and he says, I'd love to see you tomorrow? What do you do then? Go back to the hairstylist and go do all those things again? I don't know what forward thinking is going to be if you're going to go all out the first night you go with him.
Yeah,
And of course, you
I
want to look
mean,
nice. Don't show up in Uggs and a half shirt either. I mean,
right, right.
there's
No,
extremes.
absolutely. Nope, you're 100% right.
What would you do if a girl, you go out a couple of dates
Hmm.
and she just doesn't call back? What do you do with that kind of situation?
Wow, that I was actually gonna bring something like that up too. What do you do like after that date, and you don't get the call back or the text? Um, I don't know. I think people generally, I think it's only natural for people to want what they can't have. I think there's that
Oh.
with anything in life, right? Oh,
hmm
why doesn't somebody not want me? Then you talk about the chase and the game, and like sometimes maybe some girls like that. They don't want to have some overbearing person texting him 20 times, being like, "Hey, are you there? When are we going to see each other?" And now the guy looks like he's just a very aggressive person.
Mm.
I don't know. I think if I was to go on a dinner date, and you and I were to go, and I would text you after and say, "Hey, I had a lovely time." I think that's important. At least kind of like, "Hey, I had a wonderful evening. I'd love to do this again. Let's talk soon." And hopefully that's reciprocated, because if that text message isn't reciprocated,
hmm
then you kind of feel that maybe she didn't have a good time, and then you're kind of sitting there waiting. Um,
And
I
now
don't
you're
know.
going back to the non-communication. It sounds so simple, but communication is what's destroying dating, I feel.
Yes,
And
yes. I
I
think
feel like again, here you go with the girl saying, "Hey, don't call him. Wait 2 days to text him back." So he knows that you're
Uh,
not dead. And all these weird things that
yeah,
people have made up that doesn't
absolutely.
make sense.
Yeah, I mean, guys do that too. Guys will, hey, just if she doesn't call back, wait for her to call you. Like, you're gonna look overbearing, and then, but then you have guys that are genuinely nice, and they're just saying,
Hmm.
then they start thinking because it's something I said, I apologize, and then they think about it too much because it's so easy to just get on your phone and text, right,
Hmm.
and hope that they text you back. But I think as a man, you have to be confident, and you get a good vibe. Hey, it was a great dinner, and then you just kind of let it happen naturally. But again, you have outside influences from friends and saying like, no, 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 don't call back right away. You know, don't ask them out on another date right away. I don't like that. I just want it to come
It's like
natural. I
a,
think it should.
yeah, I think natural, growing up, it was more natural. They either like you or they didn't. It wasn't,
Right.
I mean, there's always going to be cases of people that have their own problems, but in general, you either like a person or you don't, or you have a chemistry or you don't. And like we said off the record, is how much meeting in person means. If
Yeah.
you're talking to someone 5 months on text, they could be so fake. And I don't even mean face wise, they could look exactly like they look in real life, but when you meet
Yeah.
them in person, they're disrespectful or they're fill in the blank.
Yes. I absolutely. I think it's just really trying to get to know that person. I mean, the flip side to that too is you know it's so easy to just let's say the date does go bad and then people just kind of can hide behind the text saying, "Hey, thanks, but it was nice meeting you," and that's it. Before people actually had to like have that phone conversation. So
Oh, yeah, you're
it, it,
right.
it it's so easy to kind of hide behind text messages a little bit. And then the other thing is with emojis and all this other stuff, things are lost in translation. I don't know if you get that. You'll get a text message and you're like, I mean, are they being sarcastic? Are they being funny? Are they being
Hmm.
serious? Versus
Right.
that pick up the phone and talk to them, you know, is just what I'm used to. That face to face time is so important.
And it's
Um,
so quick that if you think about it, texting, if I have a conversation, if I want to tell you something, it takes so many more movements to send me text back and forth than just picking up the phone for 5 seconds. Hey,
yeah,
Aaron, I just wanted to let you know it was great today. You did a great job. Whatever you're saying, and it's over. So at least the person knows you're genuine, hopefully, and that is it's understood. But with text, you could go all day and say, "Oh yeah, well, I had fun," but down deep, the person's like, "I'll never go out with them again." But you don't know that with
exactly.
text.
Exactly. I think that only not only works in dating, but I think that's in like in work life in talking to whether it's clients or people you work with.
Hmm.
Like when you have that, when you make that extra effort to call somebody, to
Hmm.
me, that just pays dividends. I mean, when someone calls to have that conversation with me, then you can actually talk back and forth. You can hear how they sound. You can feel if there's emotion. You can feel if they're upset or happy or they're frustrated, and you just don't know with a text message.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that should be applied to a lot of different things. With even interviews now, interviews are all done over Zoom meetings, and then you actually hire them over a Zoom. But then when they come to work, it's like,
Doesn't
I don't know if he
match.
was. It doesn't match because you kind of when you put somebody on that podium there and they come in for that interview, they're getting all dressed up, or even on a date, right? They're coming to
Hmm.
meet you. Then you actually see them. Otherwise, you could spend a month talking to somebody that you matched online with. They sound great on paper and they sound great in their text messages, and they seem okay in the phone call, but you spend all this time trying to get to know them, and then hear that, and then you meet them, and then that's that's just it's not.
It almost
You didn't have
ends
that. It's not
instantly.
there.
You think this is
It
not the
ends.
person that I was talking to
Nope.
on the phone in your mind. And
Yeah.
so on a
It's
positive note,
sure.
what when you're going out with someone, what would be the top five? And I'm putting you on the spot now. What are the top five great things a girl could do that you will look back and go, you know what, that was nice or polite or great or fun, whatever. But what are things she could do on a date, and it could be a couple of dates in, that would
Yeah.
make you think she's a good person, or I like her, or I want to extend this relationship?
Wow, that's a real good one.
I'm
You got
putting
me on
you
the
on the
spot on that.
spot.
Put me on the spot. I would say maybe answering that with like a couple dates in. I think again, I'm old fashioned and I'm gonna hold the doors and I'm gonna pay for dinner or coffee and all that stuff. But I think if somebody reciprocates that, even if it's just remembering what I like whether it's a cup of coffee or certain food, um, and they take that initiative a little bit to be like, hey, I ordered you this because I know you like this, um,
Oh, that's
or,
nice.
or yeah, or just I mean a gesture of like, let me ask you this: is it a gesture of whether they like you or just something that they would do
That they like you.
that they like you?
It's almost like an overt act that you could tell that it's not just they're there because they're just there. They actually
I
want
think
to be there.
laughing, I think a sense of humor, and physical touch, whether it's like a little kind of shoulder hug, like arm, like bump to bump, or they put their arm around, my arm, or
Hmm.
whether it's a kind of holding a hand gently or a hug. Physical touch is important too after a couple of days to kind of see like, do they want to be kind of close to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe just, sitting close, maybe sitting closer to you, or maybe, oh, do you mind if I sit closer to you? Like if there's like a table of like four chairs, maybe she wants to sit, just some sort of that physical kind of, because guys are always, a little timid about when you make the first move, right? You don't want to be too
Hmm.
aggressive and all those things. But I think when a woman shows that little bit of that affection, I think that's a big indicator that they do like you.
And they feel
Um,
safe. That a
I,
girl won't do that if they don't feel safe.
absolutely. Um, Gosh, I don't know if I gave five there or not, but
You gave some good ones. What
yeah,
what
I mean,
about what about her initiating the call and saying, "Hey, Aaron, you've been taking me out the last three dates. I want to take you out for the night or to the
you know what I was
for
gonna
the
say
day."
that,
Really?
that was actually, yeah, I was gonna, if they like, hey, I want to take you out, or I want to make you dinner, or I want to do something like this. I mean, that right there, I think is probably one of the top three, I would say, because then wow, okay, she does really like me because now she's showing this initiative to want to take me out,
Hmm.
and do something like that for me. Or even if it's just coffee, it doesn't have to. She doesn't have to go spend money on a dinner. She's like, I'd love to buy you coffee or a drink or whatever it may be. I want to take you out because I remember you like this kind of food. That right there would
That's
probably
sweet.
be okay. Yeah,
That is
but
sweet.
if someone's not and again, I'm old fashioned. I don't need a girl to always do those kind of things. But when that's done, every now and then, that just goes a long way, especially in the beginning,
Hmm.
going like, okay, makes the guy, for me, it would make me feel comfortable knowing that, okay, I think she really does actually like me. I think this is going well.
Because as
Um,
a guy, you're always guessing, right? Unless, of course, someone verbally says it. Aren't you guessing the whole time on how this is going?
yeah, absolutely. You're always trying to guess. I mean, you could go on a date and have a wonderful evening, and
Hmm.
then, when do you meet up next? And then you're like, well, I think in the beginning, if you both are working and stuff like that, and you make it, hey, if guy or girl, if she's like, hey, do you want to grab lunch tomorrow or the next day? Let's meet for lunch. I think those little gestures, I think should be reciprocated both ways a little bit.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I feel the guy should always be first to take that initiative, but I think to make the guy feel comfortable, and he feels that, hey, this person really wants to be with me and they want to go on another date, reciprocating that, like you said, hey, how about I take you out one night? How about I make you dinner? How about we go have coffee? It's on me today. I want to take you out. That right there, that would be a home run as far as that reciprocation.
That would be really, I think that would really make it go forward or give you in that, put you in that direction of moving forward. Because I think that's what indicates you may match, right?
Right? Because
That you
got
get along.
yeah, guys are always, I think, naturally like, I've got to ask them out. I got to plan the next date, and I think in the beginning, I think it's important for them to be like, hey, I was thinking if you're free Saturday, maybe we can go see a movie or let's go do this. That kind of initiative
Hmm.
would be to me that, wow, yeah, absolutely. That take that stress off a guy a little bit because now they're not like, am I forcing this? Did I ask her out too soon? again, did I give it enough time? They're still, the guy's always trying to figure out, dude, does she like me? Am I still she's still trying to figure me out a little bit? But I think that move on a woman's part, I think for most men would be like, okay, wow, she really likes me. Because think about it, you're sitting there talking to your friends. She asked me if I want to go do this. They would all sit there and say, dude, she really likes you. That she's asking me.
And they'll high five you right away.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what about a girl that talks about her ex? Just and she's nice, she's pleasant, but she keeps bringing up all the things that he did wrong. Would you say something or just listen and then later go, I don't want to have to deal with this?
I would not I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about your exes right away.
Hmm.
I don't know if that, like, maybe your first couple dates, eventually that's going to come up. It's only natural, especially, as when you're older and you're dating. Maybe people are divorced, maybe they've been in several relationships, when you're younger, you haven't been exposed to that. But I'd listen. I'd sit there and I'd listen. And I don't know if I would give too much of a comment back. But then, I think what may happen is the girl might go, oh, what about your past relationship? Then you got to
Hmm.
make a decision as a guy too. Like, okay, do I stop talking? Do I just cut it off and say, well, let's talk about something else? But then that could come across as, maybe being a little standoffish. But I
Or
think it's
you're
important to
hiding
know where you.
something.
Yeah, I think it's important to know where you came from and your experiences. But I don't know if I would bring that up in the first date or two. I think
Yeah, I
it's
don't
gonna
think it's
come out.
appropriate. I personally don't, only because that person wasn't involved in your relationship, so now they're listening to something
Sure.
that they have no evidence, they don't really have a background on. So you could say the guy was or girl was the worst person you met in your life. Well, you find out later they were actually the worst.
Right.
That's why
You're
it
not
didn't
gonna come
work.
out. You're not gonna come out. No one's gonna say, "Well, God, it was my fault, my past three relationships, and I ruined it." I don't think that's gonna sell really well to the your partner over there who's looking to maybe attempt to have a relationship with you. But you're not gonna say it's your fault. It's always gonna come out where
Victim.
almost becomes like a therapy session, right? Where yeah, it was
Yeah,
this and that, and then you're like, okay, yeah, that's terrible, but that will come out eventually. I think that
that's
those
true.
conversations, when you get comfortable,
Hmm.
we've all had relationships. We've all,
Yeah,
everyone's gonna have two different sides of the story. I don't. It's nice to, I mean, not nice. It's important to kind of understand maybe what you've been through, but at the end of the day, we're building a relationship, you and I,
that's actually true.
and, and that's going to be the important thing going forward. Um,
Well, I'm
and
gonna ask
whatever
you,
happens,
whatever
go ahead.
happens, I'm gonna ask you a hard one to put you in on the line.
Go
So
ahead.
you're going out with the girl. Again, 3 months is usually you're getting pretty serious. You're going out, she's great, and then her ex comes back in the picture. She says, "Aaron, you're awesome, but we had some issues and we worked them out, so I'm going back with Jack." And then maybe a month or two later, Jack's still the idiot that he was before, and she comes back. Would you take her back?
You know, that would be kind of a red flag. I think, if I really, if she was very open and honest with me about her past relationship, and because that's important too, right?
Hmm.
Maybe at some point I asked her, when was your last relationship? Well, I just got out of a relationship 3 weeks ago, and you know, to me right then, I'm gonna probably assume that there's probably it's not completely over yet, or maybe she's getting back out there to date.
Hmm.
If she wanted to go back, of course. But now, if she's trying to come back again, I
Hmm.
would probably say, hey, look, I do really like you, but let's be friends. Let's really get to know each other as friends. Give her that
Hmm.
space and time, because I think you, whether the guy or gal, is kind of doing that little bounce back and forth. You set
Hmm.
the tone of saying, like, that's great, you came back. You're honest. I do like you, but we're gonna give this some space, because if that girl really wanted to be with me, and I
Hmm.
was open and honest with her, being like, hey, I was patient with you. I think we should be friends for now, and see how those things go, and give some time, because you've been going through this relationship and you need a little break. I think shows some character on the guy's part to go, not just jump right back, because then you kind of look desperate. I think you look like you're just kind of the
Oh,
other
true,
guy.
true.
And I think from the girl, she's going to be like, wow, okay, he's not just some pushover. And I don't think a woman wants a man as a pushover. They want somebody who's confident to be, you know what? let's give it some time and let's be friends. Let's get to know each other a little bit more and give yourself a little bit of a space in between this last relationship. Because what happens if 2 weeks later she goes, oh well, it's
Jack
been going
called
back and
me.
forth, yeah. And I think now it's up to her to prove to him that she really wants to be with him. Otherwise, I think he's just kind of a comfort thing for her. That's how I would read it. Because now she doesn't have him, I'm gonna go back to the other guy.
Right.
Um,
So then you technically never had her. I feel
no,
like
no, you never did.
you were
You know,
what was that called? A
rebound.
rebound. The reason that gets complicated, I know a girl that she liked being desired. She liked the fact of someone liking her and then someone else being jealous, almost like a jealous thing. And it was almost exciting to her. So when you're mixed up with someone, male or female, that likes to go back and forth to relationships and then leave it and then go back to the same relationship, I think it's more about them than the other person.
They want to be wanted, right? I think
Hmm.
there's a lot of that going on in the culture right now, especially the social media. I
Hmm.
think guys and gals are guilty of, you know, they, I see
Crave it.
crave it. Like, the women, and I'm not, and the guys do this too, but, women want to, I see my friends, they want to get all these likes, they want the attention. It's hard not to. All of a sudden, and, all their friends like, oh my gosh, I got 300 likes or 1,000 likes, and, you know, by random people, by people they don't even know.
Right.
And that builds some false security for them that they're liked because of a picture, because
Oh,
you're
right.
attractive. They don't know who you are. These people don't know you.
Hmm.
Um, so, but I think, to the dating world too, now that it's so easy to go online and you don't have to leave your house, you can go online, match with a lot of people, start talking to a lot of people, you know, I it becomes maybe an addiction for some people that want that. It's not
Hmm.
like you don't know if I'm talking to Victoria and she and I match. I don't know if you're talking to 20 guys or just me,
True.
and vice versa, and you don't know either. So you kind of figure that out. But I'm sure, like you said, people, and I know people that want that attention, and they thrive for that. And then what do you do when that's gone? When you're actually with
Yeah.
one person?
And do
That
you think that you should be on social media? Well, let me strike that.
No, that's okay.
If you're dating, let's just say you met on Match.com or wherever. I'm
Sure.
not I'm not supporting that. I'm just using it as an
Right,
example.
right.
You meet, do you think the other person should quit using that or close their account, or because it seems like it'd be a little scary to go out with someone that you met online and then in the back of your mind you always think they could be
Are they still
online at
online?
night and looking at other people.
Yeah. I think, there's probably a certain time where you have to have that conversation with them. Maybe, because you're not going to know. I mean, maybe the first couple dates, you start figuring out, okay, I really like them. They really like me. It's reciprocated. We kind of go back and forth. I think I would take the initiative, or if she didn't, I would, knowing that, hey, this is going to go to that next step where I don't want to see anybody else, and I want to tell her that.
Hmm.
And that's not going to happen after the first day or two. It's going to, it's
Right.
going to take a couple of dates or a couple of weeks or months, whatever it's going to, or months maybe. I don't know what the right time is, but in that short period where you both know, and I know that she likes me, I'm going to probably bring it up to make it easier, right? To just for both of us, be like, hey, I really just want to date you, and I deactivated my account, and I wouldn't even tell her to
Oh, that's
deactivate
so
hers.
romantic. Hmm.
But I wouldn't tell her to deactivate hers. I would never. I would just say, hey, look, this is not me telling you that you need to do that. That's your choice. But I really just want to let you know. And I think at that point you would hopefully get some sort of response. And I already deactivated mine, and that's great. And so you both kind of know that.
Hmm.
But I definitely do think that you know you both are dating 3 months down the road. You're serious. You've been intimate, whatever that may be. Maybe boyfriend, girlfriend, almost that your buddy or gal's like, hey, I he or she's still online, like they're still there, they're
Oh
active.
no.
You don't know that, right? So it's
Right.
just I think you have to, again, what to come back to when you first asked me earlier today, honesty. And I think if you just
Honestly, in
bring those
conversation.
conversations up and communicate that and make sure that they feel okay with that. And maybe, let's say the girl says, hey, I'm not ready to deactivate that. Are you comfortable with that? And then you need to be honest. The guy needs to be honest with it and
Mhm.
have that open conversation and come to whether it's an agreement or whatever it may be. But at least it's better than I'm not going to say anything because
Oh yeah, you're right. You're
maybe
right.
she's thinking it and I'm thinking it, and someone probably needs to step up. And at that point where you feel you both know that, hey, we want to be together, because you know I don't I don't think anybody wants to have their person that they really like and they start dating that they're still dating on another line. I mean, you
That's
know,
true. Well, that
yeah, unless
segues
yeah,
me into your hard question. What would
yeah,
happen if you met a great girl? She's just awesome. She's fun. You don't argue, but she says, I want an open relationship to date other people. Would you put up with that?
man. I don't. The whole term of open relationship, I think, means a lot to a lot of different people. Um,
Okay,
but I
meaning
think
she
from
could go out with other guys, but
right,
but you guys are really serious with each other. But
I
if she's
no,
bored on a
I
Saturday night, she could go out with Bob.
no, I think if I'm spent that time and I really want to make this relationship work or be with them, and that it's reciprocated, I don't think that would not sit well with me that she wants to go do that with somebody else, because then I feel like, well, I'm just kind of the guy when you need me on these days. I don't want to be competing with somebody else because guys are competitive, right? But that doesn't sit well with me. That doesn't, and
Like a
I wouldn't like
backup.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I get it in the beginning of a relationship, and if you're dating online or you're out there and you're single, you
Hmm.
got to assume that maybe they are talking to some other people. I mean, that's the assumption that I would have, because you don't want to just not do that and just, okay, that's there's just this one person and I'm going to meet him for coffee and I'm going to stop talking to these other people that I were still trying to maybe get to possibly know. I don't know. But yeah, the open relationship, I think a majority of, I think, guys and gals would probably not be okay with that if they really want to have a successful
One on one.
relationship.
So, what is
Yeah.
your opinion? Let's just say you're with Mary. You and Mary are dating, everything's great. And then she's talking to guys online, but she's not trying to get a date or anything. When do you cross the line in conversation that it ends up being, uh, I don't want to say cheating, but what point is her conversation inappropriate if she's dating you and you guys are in a serious relationship?
Like, when should it stop, or what are they talking
Yeah,
about?
the content of the conversation. So they're ta hey, what's going on? And they're just talking normal. What
I
line crosses it's inappropriate since she's in a relationship with you? What's inappropriate for a girl to talk with about to a guy, another guy?
I yeah, I think it's kind of that old saying, you treat people how you want to be treated, right, in a
Hmm.
relationship. And you know, I if I felt uncomfortable, I would feel uncomfortable if a girl was having, conversations with a guy at 1 o'clock in the morning, and how was your day, and you know, like thinking of you kind of stuff. Yeah, that would be an issue. But I know that, you know, I wouldn't want to do that to her. I wouldn't want to be having those conversations. So I think that would probably be, if a gal's having a conversation with guys late at night and they're, talking about hanging out or getting together or
Oh,
having
that's
intimate
that's a
personal,
line. That's across the line, I
yeah,
think.
or even like personal, like, I mean, unless they're their friend. I mean, if it's a friend and then you've all met them, and that's different. I don't get, I'm not jealous like that where guys and gals can have friends. I think men should be able to have female friends. I know maybe not a lot of people support that. Some people
I
say, oh my
support
gosh,
it.
I think it was um forgot the gentleman's name. He was a celebrity for talk show on the Family Feud. Steven, I
Oh,
forgot.
what I can
Uh,
picture his face.
Stephen Perry? No.
No, it's I can picture his face with the big mustache. Why am I going
Yes,
blank?
yes.
It's
And
Family Feud. I gotta look it up. Go ahead.
but anyway, but and I really like a lot of stuff he says, but he had come out and kind of said, you know, the success. to one who's married, he doesn't have any female friends, none. And I just felt like, I mean, that's a little kind of extreme. I think
Right.
guys and gals, especially when you go through life, you don't need to be eliminating friendships that you've built before that. Um, and I think if you're not comfortable in your relationship with that person,
Steve
um,
Harvey.
Steve Harvey, yeah, and that to me just shows me that there's somebody in that relationship that like you're not going to have any female or male friends, and that's the way it's going to be. I don't think that's right. I don't think you're confident. Your relationship isn't strong enough. Now, I'm not saying guys should be going and meeting girls at bars all the time and getting phone numbers, but the friendships that you have, whether at
Hmm.
work or past, those are important, and you got to have and be confident about that with your relationship, that you're open and they know who these people are in your life too. But
Well, I
yeah,
have a specific idea on that because let's just say you're with Mary. She has some old
sure,
friends and they're great. You met them. I
sure,
think you as a man could look at them and know if they like her as a friend or if they want her naked. And because
yeah,
I think there's a big extreme difference. If she grew up with the guy that thinks of her as one of the guys and they went out and played games and stuff, that's a whole different guy than the one that's standing there going, one day I'm gonna get her. I've been in love with her for years. So can't that happen too? There's different types of
absolutely,
friendships.
absolutely. Um, and I think as the guy, I think you got to, you have to see that. And here, the other thing is you want to make sure that your significant other always feels comfortable.
Right.
But you don't want to have somebody come in your life and alienate relationships of other sexes because what those reasons are, and they have to have a good reason. I mean, if this girl who, the imaginary Mary was to be like, well, I don't like, Victoria or so and so because she wants to sleep with you. Okay. And that becomes kind of a pattern of another girl and then another girlfriend and this or
Oh, so
that.
now she's exaggerating, almost trying to keep you away from
Yeah.
people. Got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, but you also have to have that respect too. I mean, I think that kind of segues maybe into, are you friends with ex-girlfriends? Are you friends
Mhm.
with ex-boyfriends? I mean, that's a whole
See,
other
I kind
topic
of
right
don't.
there.
I think that's a negative. I'm sorry. I feel
I agree.
like you're an ex for a reason, and
Yep.
why are you want to be friends? And again, there's extreme cases. Something could happen, like they could have witnessed a death or something, so they've always
Sure.
stayed friends. But in general, I feel like exes as friends is a no-go. I'm sorry. That's a red flag.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, just short of, maybe someone else's, has a child with the mom or the dad or something like that. That's different because you have to have a
Yeah,
relationship with them to
you
raise the
have
kid.
to.
But
That's forced, kind
but
of.
but you're an ex. If they're ex, they're an ex for a reason, and I think it's at that should be a respectful thing where you don't want to, even as a guy too. I don't want you to have this other guy that you've been physical with and you've had relationships with, like you guys are just chumming around, right? And then vice versa. I don't think the girl wants another girl around who you guys have had a relationship with and you have those thoughts, right? So
And
I
they've
think
known you longer. I feel like
that
I'm not
hurts.
a
I think
big.
it hurts your relationship.
I believe it because I'm not a big fan of Barbara Streisand sometimes, but there's a movie she was in when she was a therapist, and I can't remember the name of it. And at the end, she fell in love with one of her patients, and he was going through a divorce. And at the very end, he picked the wife and went back to the wife with the kids. And he says, "I'm sorry. If I only knew you before." And she says, "I know you've known her longer."
Hmm.
And that always sticks in my mind because if you know someone longer, you know their family, you know their quirks, they
Yep.
know what they like and dislike. So you're at a disadvantage if you let them hang around their ex because in the long run, they could win. And again, you can't help it if you have kids together. I'm speaking strictly as exes.
Sure.
And if you've known them a
Sure.
long time, I think you're in a negative if that happens.
Yeah, and that makes the other person feel like it's just it's not a good place for your new relationship to grow.
Mhm.
Um, and you kind of you put that other person, other guy or gal in that relationship at a awkward position to feel those things. So I think you're absolutely right. I think they just, they're exes for a reason. And I think if you want to have a successful relationship in this new relationship, then you have to kind of let that go.
Do you think you have intuition enough that if you walked in a room and Mary's standing with Jack again, you walk up, could you, as a male or as yourself, sense the energy, if it's negative or positive? Do you think you could guess that? In the sense of he's really there just to be your friend or he's trying. Could you tell the difference if there's a
I could
dominance?
tell.
You could?
Yeah, I could tell. I think guys, and I think with females too, they size kind of the other person up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I see the way they kind of talk to each other. Are they, you know, physically kind of how close are they? Are they hugging or is there this or they're that or their attention's not really on you anymore? You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I
that's a
think
big
you
one.
get that vibe right away. Again, guys are naturally territorial, right? I mean, so I
Mm-hmm.
think, you know, I I would not be okay with that. And I wouldn't even want to have to deal with that confrontation, right? It shouldn't, I don't think the other person maybe should be put in that situation. Now, granted, you two are going out to a concert or to a show and you just happen to randomly be there and bump into them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's different. But
Right.
I think if it's the other person's ex, they should take that opportunity to really kind of, I'm going to pull my gal in tight and be like, hey, just so you know, that's so and so, and that's my ex girlfriend. And I actually let them play with them. Like we don't. I would probably say we don't need to go say anything to them. And if she's like, no,
Yeah,
no, let's go
yeah,
say
you're
hi.
right. Yeah.
Let's go say hi. Are you sure? Okay. And then maybe, hey, quick, how you doing? Blah blah blah, and then you kind of move on. To not make things awkward, but I would want to make sure that my partner would want to be comfortable with that. I wouldn't want to be like, hey, we got to go over there and say hi to them.
Yeah,
Like you're like
that doesn't work. And I
that
feel
doesn't work.
like if people thought more of how would they feel if it was opposite, I think they would think things through more as opposed to getting offended or mad. Oh, you're just jealous because I want to talk to this person. It's more put yourself in that person's shoes. Would you want them to walk over to their ex and be smiling and hugging or whatever? And
Nope.
that's what I think the breakdown in communication is these days. People are offended so easy, or they think of themselves as opposed to the entire situation.
Yep, absolutely. And again,
So,
comes back down to that communication again and being open and honest with them. And, and then, but at the same time, you have to, that's going to happen, depending on, you're going to meet people that were in your life, but especially as we get older, right? We're not
mhm.
22 and this is like your first relationship.
You kind of know, right? You can nip things in the bud faster than you could when you're younger. That's
Correct.
what I think people could do. What would be the perfect date to go out with a girl?
A perfect date. I think somewhere for dinner on a patio, somewhere where you could talk, whether it's by the beach or whether it's somewhere from the hills, and a nice dinner followed by either maybe dancing or maybe having a drink somewhere or going for a walk, and just taking that opportunity to just really get to know them. A lot
Mhm.
of people like to go to movies and shows, but that's all great, but you can't talk to the person if you're kind of
That's
going
true.
doing that kind of stuff. So I
Right.
think that setting the tone of somewhere where you can the ambiance of the setting and taking that time to find a place where like, hey, this is going to be a great place that we can have a conversation and talk, and then having a plan for afterwards too to go sit somewhere or wherever that may be, whether it's at a coffee shop or you're going to go grab ice cream or dessert somewhere and go for a walk. Whether down an area where there's people out and about, and just enjoying each other.
Without phones.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be
So
outside,
put
get
your
it, get it,
phones
get out,
away. Anyone going
put
on
your
a
phones
date,
away.
put them away unless you're a doctor or you have kids or there's an emergency. Get back to actually talking to people because I think you're only half there when you have your phone in your hand. You're only 50%.
Silence the phone. You got your emergency contact list. You can do it. Do not disturb, and just take that time to really give that other person your full attention.